On this episode of Intergalactic Insider, discover the thrilling world of black market trading with our special guest, Nadir, a cunning Skulthorian vendor from the treacherous Goblin's pit Nebula.
There was this one time I was making a deal with a human smuggler, and he kept trying to impress me with his knowledge of Earth culture. He kept quoting someone named Shakespeare and trying to make all these fancy speeches.
What exactly did he say?
And don't forget to catch our out-of-this-world space weather report with astrometeorologist Comet Channing and field reporter Zephyr Stardust, who's currently caught in a neutron star tornado. All this and more coming up on Intergalactic Insider with your host, Felix Andromeda.
Across the stars, through your speakers, and straight into your auditory cortex. It's the Intergalactic Insider, your sonic portal to the pulsating heart of the universe. Greetings, space cadets. Felix Andromeda here, your trusty guide through the cosmic cacophony. Whether you're tuning in from the swirling vortex of a black hole, the shimmering surface of a quasar, or the relative tranquility of a Type 2 civilization, we've got you covered. Before we blast off, a quick word from our sponsor, Nebula Noodles. Slurp your way to the edge of the galaxy with Nebula Noodles, now with extra stardust for that cosmic crunch. And remember, side effects of listening to the Intergalactic Insider may include sudden bouts of cosmic enlightenment, uncontrollable laughter, and a newfound appreciation for the absurdity of the universe. And now, dear listeners, it's time to stretch those neurons and ponder our cosmic conundrum of the fortnight. If beings from vastly different cultures and experiences can swap consciousness, do they gain a deeper understanding of each other, or do they risk losing their own identities in the process? Ponder this, Insider Nation. Send your quantum-entangled responses our way, and let's unravel this cosmic riddle together. And congratulations to listener at QuantumQuack42 for their mind-bending answer to our last conundrum. They posited that the shape-shifting alien has indeed become you, as identity is a construct of memories and personality, regardless of physical form. Truly a thought-provoking perspective.
Hey, Felix, I just had a thought. If the universe is constantly expanding, does that mean we're all technically time travelers?
Zephyr, I think you've been spending too much time in those cosmic rays, but you know what they say. Time flies when you're having fun, but space walks when you're in a vacuum.
Ha! Felix, that was so bad. I think my ears just went supernova.
Well, folks, on that note, let's strap in and prepare for a wild ride through the cosmos. But first, a quick reminder. Never stick your hand in a wormhole without proper safety gear. Welcome back, listeners. We have a very special guest joining us today from the treacherous depths of the Goblin's pit Nebula. Please give a warm Intergalactic Insider welcome to Nadir, a Skulthorian black market vendor known for her exceptional survival skills and cunning nature. Nadir, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Felix. Thanks for having me. I gotta say, your studio is a far cry from the seedy bars and back alleys I usually frequent. I feel like I should be hiding contraband under the cushions.
Well, just don't let station security catch wind of it. You know, I actually had a run-in with a Skulthorian once, back when I was a rookie reporter covering the Zorgon Prime Trade Summit. I accidentally sat on his tail at the bar, and let's just say I learned some colorful new Skulthorian curse words that day.
Oh, that's rich. You're lucky you didn't end up with a plasma blade between your ribs. We Skulthorians are a prickly bunch.
No kidding. For our listeners who may not be familiar, could you give us a quick rundown on the Skulthorians and your charming home Nebula?
Charming. More like a cosmic haunted house. Skulthorians are the ultimate survivors, Felix. We're born and raised in the most unforgiving corner of the universe, the Goblin's Pit Nebula. Imagine a place where every day is like Halloween, but instead of candy, you're dodging space debris and fending off pirate raids. It's a non-stop adrenaline rush.
Sounds like a real tourist trap. Growing up in a place like that must have been a wild ride. What was it like being a young Skulthorian?
Oh, it was a blast. From day one, we're taught to navigate the nebula, outsmart our rivals, and always keep one eye open for the next big score, or the next big threat. Picture this. My first solo run through the Goblin's Pit. I was dodging pirate raids left and right, wheeling and dealing with some of the most notorious black market operators in the sector. It was like a cosmic bar mitzvah, but instead of reading from the Torah, I was reading Smuggler's The Riot Act.
That's incredible. I can just picture a tiny Nadir shaking down space pirates and wheeling and dealing like a cosmic mobster. How did growing up like that shape you into the cunning vendor you are today?
When danger is your constant companion, you learn to think fast and trust your gut. We Skulthorians are born hustlers, always looking for the angle that'll give us the edge. Get this. I'm just a little sprog, and I managed to broker a deal between two smugglers who'd been at each other's throats for cycles. Not only did I prevent a firefight, but I also walked away with a fat profit and the respect of both crews. That's the Skulthorian way. We could sell ice to a Frostian and make them think they got a bargain.
Unbelievable. You Skulthorians are the ultimate wheeler dealers. I've got to hand it to you, Nadir. You make the Ferengi look like amateur hour. Listeners, we'll be right back with more from our wily guest, Nadir, after a quick word from our sponsors. Don't touch that dial, or Nadir might sell it out from under you.
Attention all intergalactic travelers. Have you ever been stranded on a desolate moon with nothing but a faulty teleporter and a box of stale nutrient bars? Well, I have. Thanks to Zorp's discount teleporters. I thought I'd save a few credits by purchasing one of their refurbished models. But boy, was I wrong. Instead of being instantly transported to my desired location, I found myself materializing inside a space slug's digestive tract. And let me tell you, that's not a pleasant experience. I barely escaped with my life, and now I'm stuck on this godforsaken moon, waiting for a rescue ship. So take it from me, folks. Spend the extra credits and get a reliable teleporter from a reputable manufacturer. Don't be a cheapskate like me, or you might end up as Space Slug Chow. This has been a cautionary tale from a very unsatisfied customer of Zorp's discount teleporters.
And we're back with the one and only Nadir, the Skulthorian black market vendor extraordinaire. Nadir, I've got to ask, what made you decide to dive into the wild world of black market trading?
Felix, when you grow up in a place like the Goblin's Pit, you've got two options: become a vendor or become a customer. And trust me, you don't want to be on the receiving end of a Skulthorian sales pitch.
I can only imagine. But seriously, what drew you to this line of work?
Honestly, it's in my blood. My parents were both black market operators, and I grew up watching them wheel and deal across the nebula. It's a high-stakes game of wits, and I love the thrill of it all.
It sounds like a real adrenaline rush, but I'm sure it's not all fun and games. What are some of the biggest challenges you face as a vendor in the Goblin's Pit?
Oh, where do I start? Between the pirate raids, the asteroid fields, and the occasional run-in with the Intergalactic Trade Authority, it's a constant juggling act. But that's what keeps it exciting. Picture this. I'm in the middle of a deal with a notorious smuggler when suddenly the ITA shows up out of nowhere. I've got to think fast, so I bluff my way through the inspection, all while trying to keep the smuggler from bolting with my goods.
Unbelievable. How did you manage to pull that off?
Let's just say I have a way with words, and a few hidden compartments on my ship. But that's not even the craziest deal I've been in.
Oh, do tell. What's the most incredible item you've ever traded?
Get this. A few cycles back, I managed to get my hands on a genuine, pre-collapse Earth artifact. It was a strange little device called an iPhone, and the collector I sold it to paid a small fortune for it.
An iPhone? You're kidding. Those things are like ancient relics. I can't believe you actually found one intact.
Believe it, Felix. Although, between you and me, I think the collector got a raw deal. I mean, what kind of primitive species would create a communication device that can't even project a hologram?
Hey now, let's not be too hard on my ancestors. Us humans may have started out a bit primitive, but we've come a long way since the days of the iPhone.
Fair enough, Felix. I guess even primitive species can evolve given enough time. And a few helpful nudges from the galactic community.
I won't argue with that. We Earthlings definitely owe a lot to our intergalactic friends and partners. But hey, one species' junk is another's treasure, right?
And that, my friend, is the golden rule of black market trading.
Well, folks, if you ever find yourself in need of a quick deal or a rare artifact, just look for Nadir in the Goblin's Pit Nebula. If you dare. Welcome back to our thrilling interview with Nadir, the Skulthorian black market maestro. Nadir, you've been in this game for a while now. What's the most significant change you've seen in the black market over the years?
Felix, let me tell you, the black market has evolved faster than a xenomorphian shapeshifter in a room full of politicians. Back in the day, we were lucky if our quantum encryption lasted long enough to complete a deal. Now, with these new trans-dimensional trade routes, I can sell a shipment of contraband Rigelian rum to a client in a parallel universe before the galactic feds even realize I've left the space station.
Sounds like the black market has gone multi-dimensional. I bet you've got some wild stories about unusual negotiations. Care to share any particularly humorous or bizarre encounters?
Ugh, where do I begin? There was this one time a Zorpian client wanted to trade me a crate of Terran disco balls for a shipment of bioluminescent Zorlak fungus. Apparently, he thought the disco balls were some kind of rare, shiny power source. I had to explain to him that humans used to dance under them, not use them to fuel their ships.
Haha, disco balls as a power source. That's the most ridiculous trade I've ever heard of. Speaking of ridiculous, what's your take on the ethics of the black market?
Look, Felix, I'm not saying I'm a saint. I mean, I once smuggled a shipment of Aldebaran whiskey in a hollowed-out asteroid. But even I have standards. No dealing in anything that's alive, no selling weapons to anyone with more than 3 eyes, and always keep your word, even if it means flying through a supernova to deliver the goods.
I guess even black market dealers have a moral compass, even if it's a little skewed. So, what words of wisdom would you impart to any aspiring intergalactic smugglers out there?
Well, first off, make sure your ship has a cloaking device, a warp drive, and a really good coffee maker. Trust me, you'll need all 3. Second, if a deal sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And finally, always have an escape plan, whether it's a hidden wormhole, a fake identity, or a really convincing disguise. You never know when you'll need to make a quick getaway.
I'll make sure to keep a spare wig and a fake mustache on hand, just in case. So, what do you think the future holds for the black market?
Honestly, Felix, I wouldn't be surprised if the black market becomes the new intergalactic stock exchange. We might even have our own shadow currency, like the galactic credit, but with a cooler name, like the shady shekel or the contraband coin.
The contraband coin? I love it! I'm sure our listeners are taking notes. After all, who wouldn't want to invest in the next big thing on the black market? Nadir, you've certainly seen your fair share of bizarre trades, but I'm curious, what kind of unusual or rare items are you currently on the lookout for? What's the hottest commodity on the black market right now?
Oh, Felix, you know I can't reveal all my trade secrets. But let's just say, there's a certain rare mineral that's been causing quite a stir lately. It's called zorbidium, and it's only found in the heart of a dying star. Rumor has it, this stuff can power an entire fleet of starships for a century.
Zorbidium? I've never even heard of that. How do you even go about acquiring something like that?
Very carefully, Felix. Very carefully. Let's just say it involves a specialized mining drone, a heavily modified ship, and nerves of steel. But the payoff? Oh, it's worth it. I've got clients lined up from here to the Andromeda galaxy willing to pay top dollar for even a small fragment of this stuff.
I can only imagine. It sounds like the black market is always one step ahead when it comes to discovering the universe's most valuable resources. Any other hot commodities you're keeping an eye out for?
Well, there's always a demand for exotic alien artifacts. Just last week, I had a client looking for a genuine Zorganian mind-reading amulet. Apparently, it's the ultimate accessory for any aspiring intergalactic diplomat, or anyone who wants to get the upper hand in a negotiation.
A mind-reading amulet. That sounds like it could be a dangerous piece of technology in the wrong hands.
Oh, absolutely. But that's what makes it so valuable. In this business, the rarer and more dangerous the item, the higher the price tag. It's all about knowing your market and being willing to take risks.
Well, there you have it, folks. From zorbidium to mind-reading amulets, the black market is always on the cutting edge of the most sought-after goods in the galaxy. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a sudden urge to go treasure hunting.
Careful, Felix. That's how I got started in this business. One minute you're chasing down a rare crystal, the next thing you know, you're smuggling contraband across the Orion Belt.
I think I'll stick to reporting on the black market rather than diving in headfirst, but who knows? Maybe one day I'll be the one calling you up looking for a mind-reading amulet.
In that case, you know where to find me, Felix. Just don't forget to bring your contraband coins.
I'll keep that in mind, wee Nadir. Now, let's take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be delving into the fascinating world of Skulthorian culture and customs. Stay tuned.
Attention all intergalactic bounty hunters, mercenaries, and assassins. Are you tired of your targets always slipping away just when you're about to catch them? Well, worry no more. Introducing the all-new Tractor Beam 3000 from Sirius Cybernetics Corporation. This state-of-the-art tractor beam system is guaranteed to lock onto your target and reel them in like a space bass on a cosmic fishing trip. No more chasing after slippery smugglers or elusive rebels. With the Tractor Beam 3000, you'll have them in your clutches faster than you can say, "Resistance is futile." But wait, there's more. Order now, and you'll also receive a complimentary Stun-O-Matic attachment, perfect for subduing even the feistiest of bounties. And if you act fast, we'll even throw in a set of quantum handcuffs that can restrain anything from a Wookiee to a xenomorph. So don't let your bounties escape any longer. Get the Tractor Beam 3000 today and become the most feared hunter in the galaxy. Disclaimer: Sirius Cybernetics Corporation is not responsible for any accidental capture of innocent bystanders, space whales, or Galactic Empire officials. Please bounty hunt responsibly.
And we're back with the one and only Why Nadir. Now, why Nadir? I've got to ask, what's a unique Skulthorian tradition or celebration that our listeners might find fascinating?
Oh, Felix, you're opening up a whole can of Zorgian worms with that question. Well, have you ever heard of the Skulthorian Feast of the Fallen Asteroid?
No, I can't say that I have. Please do tell.
So, legend has it that long ago, a massive asteroid was heading straight for Skulthos Prime. Our ancestors, being the crafty bunch they were, managed to blow it up just in time. Now, every year, we celebrate by having a massive feast where we eat nothing but foods shaped like asteroids.
Foods shaped like asteroids? Like what exactly?
Oh, you know, the usual. Asteroid-shaped meatballs, asteroid-shaped bread, asteroid-shaped desserts. Basically, if it can be molded into a vaguely rocky shape, It's on the menu.
The Feast of the Fallen Asteroid sounds like quite the celebration. I bet you've got some wild stories from over the years. Any particularly memorable moments stand out?
Oh, there was this one time when my cousin Zorbo tried to pass off an actual asteroid fragment as a dessert. He claimed it was a rare delicacy from the Zorgon system, but let's just say it didn't exactly go down smoothly.
Oh no, I can only imagine the looks on everyone's faces when they bit into that.
Yeah, let's just say there were a lot of chipped teeth that year. Zorbo's never been allowed to bring a dish to the feast since.
I guess that's one way to make sure everyone remembers the celebration. Speaking of which, are there any special utensils you use for the feast? Like, I don't know, asteroid-shaped forks or something.
You know, that's not a bad idea. Maybe I should pitch that to the Skulthorian Culinary Council. I can see it now, the official Feast of the Fallen Asteroid cutlery set. We'll make a fortune.
I'd buy a set. Now, shifting gears a bit, are there any alien races that Skulthorians particularly enjoy trading with or find challenging to deal with?
Well, we always have a good time haggling with the Zorpians. They're master negotiators, but they've got a great sense of humor. There was this one time I was trying to close a deal with a Zorpian merchant, and he kept cracking jokes about my puny Skulthorian bargaining skills. I fired back with a few zingers of my own, and pretty soon we were both laughing so hard we could barely sign the contract.
Sounds like you gave as good as you got.
Always. Now, on the other hand, dealing with the reptiloids can be a bit of a challenge. They're so serious all the time. I once tried to lighten the mood during a negotiation by telling a joke, and they just stared at me like I'd grown a second head.
I guess humor doesn't always translate across species lines.
Apparently not. But hey, that's part of the fun of intergalactic trade. You never know what kind of personalities you'll run into.
So true. How does Skulthorians generally view other alien races?
Well, let's just say we have a healthy respect for anyone who can keep up with us in the art of the deal. We may butt heads with the occasional Zorpian or Reptiloid, but at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make our way in this crazy universe.
I can definitely respect that. Now, what would you say is a common misconception about Skulthorians?
Oh, where do I start? I think the biggest one is that we're all a bunch of backstabbing, double-crossing scoundrels. I mean, sure, we might engage in the occasional bit of creative negotiating, but we've got a strict code of honor. A Skulthorian always keeps their word, unless there's a really, really good reason not to.
I'm not sure that last bit is helping your case, Nadir, but I can appreciate the importance of a strong sense of honor, even in the black market trade. Now, here's a fun question. If you could trade with any alien race, past or present, which would you choose and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'd have to say the ancient Zorgons. Those guys were legendary for their tech. I mean, have you seen a genuine Zorgon plasma rifle? It's like a work of art that can also vaporize a small moon.
Remind me never to get on the wrong side of a Zorgon plasma rifle. Speaking of tricky negotiations, I'm curious about your perspective on humanity's role in intergalactic affairs.
Well, I've got to hand it to you humans. You may be relatively new on the galactic scene, but you've certainly made an impression. I mean, just look at the way you've managed to broker peace treaties between species that have been at war for centuries. It's like you've got a secret weapon up your sleeves, or maybe just a really good recipe for diplomacy.
As a human myself, I like to think it's a little bit of both. But I'm curious. Have you had any particularly memorable interactions with humans in your line of work?
Oh, absolutely. There was this one time I was making a deal with a human smuggler, and he kept trying to impress me with his knowledge of Earth culture. He kept quoting someone named Shakespeare and trying to make all these fancy speeches.
What exactly did he say?
Oh man, it was something like, "To trade or not to trade, that is the question." I mean, really? I'm trying to make a deal, not audition for the Galactic Theater Troupe.
Wow, that's actually kind of clever in a weird way.
Yeah, well, I told him, "Buddy, the only question here is whether you want to make some credits or not. Now show me the goods."
I bet that got his attention.
Oh yeah, he dropped the Shakespeare act real quick after that.
You know, Nadir, I've got to say, you Skulthorians have quite the reputation in the galaxy, but it seems like a lot of it is based on misconceptions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sure, we might be a little rough around the edges, but we're not all scoundrels. Some of us are just really good at pretending to be.
I guess that's a valuable skill in your line of work.
Hey, what can I say? We Skulthorians are born performers. It's all part of the dance of negotiation. You should see us in action. It's like a high-stakes game of poker, but with way more bluffing and way higher stakes.
I don't know why, Nadir. I've seen some pretty intense poker games in my time. I think you might be underestimating us humans.
Oh, really? Well, let me put it this way. In a Skulthorian negotiation, the only thing getting poker is the plasma cannon pointed at your face if you try to cheat.
Okay, I stand corrected. Remind me never to play cards with a Skulthorian.
Wise choice, Felix. Wise choice. But hey, that's all part of the fun of intergalactic trade. You never know what kind of crazy situations you'll find yourself in.
I'm starting to see that. Actually, that brings me to the Human Corner segment of our interview. Why, Nadir? What's something about human behavior that you find particularly puzzling?
You know what I've always wondered about you humans? What's the deal with your obsession with these little round discs you put on your fingers? What do you call them again? Rings.
Ah, yes, rings. Well, they can serve a few different purposes. Sometimes they're just decorative, but often they hold symbolic meaning. For example, wedding rings are used to signify the eternal bond of marriage between two people.
Wait. You're telling me you humans wear a little piece of metal to show your eternal commitment? Why not just get matching tattoos or something?
You know, that's a fair point. I guess rings are just a tradition that's been passed down for generations. Plus, they're a lot less painful than tattoos.
I suppose that's true. You humans are a strange bunch, but I've got to admit, you keep things interesting.
We do our best. And on that note, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have a lightning round of fun questions for Why Nadir. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks. We're here with the inimitable Why Nadir, and it's time for our lightning round of fun questions. Why Nadir? Are you ready?
Bring it on, Felix. I was born ready.
Haha, all right. Let's start with an easy one. What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
Oh, that's a tough one. I once ate a Zorgonian slime slug on a dare. It was like biting into a live electrical wire, but with more slime.
Okay, remind me never to accept a dinner invitation from a Zorgonian. Next question. If you could trade places with any historical figure, who would it be?
Easy. The legendary smuggler, Zaxxon Starpulse. That guy could talk his way out of a black hole.
I bet he could. Okay, here's a fun one. What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you during a trade negotiation?
Oh no. Okay, fine. There was this one time I was making a deal with a reptiloid merchant, and I accidentally sat on the activation button for my ship's emergency escape pod. Long story short, I ended up jettisoning myself into space mid-negotiation.
Oh my stars. How did you get back?
Let's just say I had to make a very apologetic call to the reptiloid's ship and ask for a lift. It took weeks to live that one down.
I can imagine. Okay, next question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd want the power to read minds. It would make negotiations so much easier.
I'm not sure that's entirely ethical. Why, Nadir?
Hey, you asked.
Okay. We have a wild card question from one of our listeners, at Zorpthe. Magnificent asks, if you could create a black market trading card game, what would you call it and what would be the rarest card?
Oh, that's brilliant. I'd call it Smuggler's Gambit, and the rarest card would be the Quantum Pocket Dimension card. It would allow you to hide an entire cargo hold worth of contraband in a microscopic pocket of space-time.
That sounds like a card that would be right up your alley, why, Nadir? Okay, last question. What's the most valuable lesson you've learned from your profession?
Always trust your gut. If a deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Oh, and never, ever try to outdrink a Zorpian. You will lose.
Those sound like words to live by. Well, that's all the time we have for our lightning round. Why, Nadir, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible stories.
It was my pleasure, Felix. This has been a blast. And remember, if you ever need a good deal on some slightly used plasma cannons, you know who to call.
I'll keep that in mind. Oh, before you go, we have a little thank you gift for you. It's an old Earth relic that I think you might find amusing. Here it is, a genuine, vintage Magic 8-ball. Humans used to use these to predict the future and make decisions. Let's see what it says about your next big deal. Outlook good. Well, there you have it, why, Nadir? Straight from the Oracle's mouth.
Haha. Wow, a real piece of human history. I'm honored, Felix. I'll be sure to consult this Magic 8-ball the next time I'm in a tough negotiation. If it can handle the fate of an entire species cargo shipment, I'm sure it can handle a measly plasma cannon trade.
I'm sure it can. Thanks again for being here. Why, Nadir?
Anytime, Felix. And remember, keep your eyes on the stars and your hand on your wallet.
Will do. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have our intergalactic weather report with everyone's favorite astrometeorologist, Comet Channing. Stay tuned. Welcome back, Space Cadets. We're nearing the end of our show, but before we blast off, it's time for our intergalactic weather report with our resident astrometeorologist, Comet Channing. Comet, what's the cosmic forecast looking like today?
Thanks, Felix. Well, let me tell you, the universe is serving up a smorgasbord of meteorological marvels today. First up, on the planet Zorbax Prime, we're expecting a heavy downpour of liquid nitrogen with a side of supersonic winds. I'd recommend breaking out the old quantum parka for this one, folks.
Liquid nitrogen rain? That sounds like a recipe for the universe's coldest ice cream.
You're not wrong, Felix. Just be sure to pack a subatomic spoon. Now, let's check in with our field reporter, Zephyr Stardust. Zephyr, I heard you're on the planet Glumox, where they're experiencing some rather unusual weather. What's the situation like down there?
Comet, you won't believe this. I'm standing in the middle of a spaghetti tornado. Strands of pasta the size of starships are whipping through the air at speeds of over 500 clicks per hour. It's like a scene out of an intergalactic Italian restaurant gone wrong.
A spaghetti tornado? Zephyr, are you sure you haven't accidentally stumbled onto the set of a cosmic cooking show?
Negative, Felix. This is 100% authentic Glumoxian weather. I've never seen anything like it. Oh no, is that a sentient breadstick? The carbs on this planet? I swear they're trying to take over. Zephyr to base, requesting immediate extraction before I'm turned into a human lasagna. I heard they're really good during tornado season.
Zephyr? Zephyr, are you there? Comet, did we just lose our field reporter to a bunch of rogue pasta?
It's hard to say, Felix, but knowing Zephyr, he'll probably just end up being fashionably late to his next assignment. In the meantime, let's take a look at our long-range forecast. It seems the Horsehead Nebula is expecting scattered ion storms with a chance of cosmic dust bunnies. And for those spacefaring organisms, be prepared for some solar wind, clocking in at about 20 gigawatts in your face.
In your face? Comet, I don't think that's an official meteorological term.
Says you, Felix. But for our astrobiological friends, those solar winds can feel like a real slap in the pseudopod. Now, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsors.
Tired of getting caught in the rain on your daily spacewalk? Try the all-new Cosmic Canopy. Our state-of-the-art force field technology keeps you dry in even the harshest of interstellar downpours. Whether you're dodging dihydrogen monoxide droplets or fleeing from a spaghetti tornado, the Cosmic Canopy has you covered. Literally. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
It's time for our space weather word of the fortnight. Today's word is heliopause, which is the boundary where the solar wind from our sun is stopped by the interstellar medium. It's like the universe's version of a cosmic bouncer, deciding who gets into the celestial club.
I love it. I'm sure our listeners will be dropping heliopause into their daily conversations in no time.
It's time for our listeners' space weather story of the fortnight. This one comes from a real star with the handle @SupernovaSteve. Steve writes, "Dear Comet, I was recently on a solo mission to explore a new sector of the galaxy when I encountered a most peculiar phenomenon. As I approached a seemingly uninhabited planet, I noticed that the clouds appeared to be shaped like various musical instruments. Upon entering the atmosphere, I was suddenly bombarded by what I can only describe as a symphony of meteorological madness. The wind howled like a cosmic oboe, the thunder crashed like an intergalactic gong, and the lightning flashed in perfect syncopation. I found myself caught in the middle of a literal space opera. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Signed, Supernova Steve."
Haha! A space opera. Steve, are you sure you didn't just accidentally fly into an intergalactic orchestra pit?
Well, Felix, while I can't say I've personally encountered a musically inclined meteorological event, in the grand cosmic scheme of things, anything is possible. It just goes to show that the universe is full of surprises.
Indeed it is, Comet. Indeed it is. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for our intergalactic weather report. Join us next time for more cosmic craziness. And remember, when in doubt, always pack a quantum umbrella.